Hello and welcome to this week's YouTube video. As always, I'm so grateful that you're here and supporting me. I can't tell you how much it means. So this week's video, we're kind of going over how to paint a few different trees, and I show you how I approach them from the shapes and just kind of an outline that I would do, and then we go into the colors and the painting. So super fun. But you guys, it is our spring sale. I always say our, but it's my company, it's me. I'm the only one. But we are selling these watercoloring books, and anyone that orders this book in the next 2 days gets a free watercolor palette with it. So better run and go get yourself one. This is a really awesome Easter gift or Mother's Day gift. So yeah, don't miss out. But let's get painting. All right, so we are going to be doing 4 different trees, but we're separating them into 3 different sections. So the round top and the tall thin trees have a very similar approach to them. So we're going to do those together, and then we'll come to a flat top tree and pine tree. If I'm being completely honest, these 3 are very similar, and this one is just a tad bit different, but the same concept will go to all of them. So I'm going to kind of just leave this here to look at. Here we go. With a round top tree, as you can see, it's pretty common that the top half of it is kind of like a half circle, and it takes up a little more than half of the tree. So you can kind of see, I can darken it for you. I have an example of kind of a half circle, and then my tree trunk is a little less than half. So maybe a little bit longer, but you get the idea. So then you can draw kind of the top little bunch is going to be, I like to do it all the way across the bottom, and then you can make some like little areas, bigger areas, and as you go up, they kind of get smaller. And I'm leaving, as you can see, I have some blank spaces, and that's where you can draw in your branches. Now, you don't want to just do like random lines anywhere. You want to make sure that your branches have a purpose, otherwise they're going to look a little out of place. Right? So there is an idea of kind of the layout of a round top tree. So now we're going to paint it. I just have a medium round tip brush, and I'm grabbing my light color because with watercolor we like to go from light to dark. So I'm gonna grab like a yellow green. So I'm kind of just blocking out these sections with one color. So I have let's make this our bottom section. Then we have another one up here. Maybe we have our bigger one. And a small tree. Okay, kind of a little bit lopsided right now, so I'm gonna make sure. There we go. Okay, so we have the first layer down, and while it's still pretty wet, what we're gonna do is grab our next layer to add in some shading. So I'm kind of just, it's a little bit more than I wanted. I'm just dropping in kind of around like the bottom areas of this tree, kind of bringing it up into it. Kind of, you're trying to make it look fluffy. So think of them kind of like almost like clouds, each individually. There we go. And I don't want there to be super harsh lines, so I'm kind of just bringing in my brush and dragging those out. So I'm grabbing an even darker color of green. Maybe gonna add some blue to it. And just dropping it in. All right. Okay. So now that we have our tree, we can come in with the trunk. And I'm just gonna mix a light brown first. Straight out of my tube, pretty much. And we're gonna do our trunk. And this is where you can come in and grab the tip of your brush and you're doing little branches. Awesome. So that's a quick first layer of the tree. So we can come back once it's dry and add just a little bit more contrast. But we're gonna do very similar here. And what we're doing is, instead of the top being this arch like that, we're making an oval, a long oval. And the tree trunk only goes a little bit into it and then comes down, and it's the same type thing where you're just kind of making little bunches of tree, like where your leaves are going to be throughout. Again, you're leaving a little bit of space for your branches, but not a whole bunch. Like you could even, if you wanted to, you could just not even put branches, but this is still good to do if you're wanting to like have sections in your trees. So then when you're done with those, you come through and put your branches, kind of putting one or two connecting each thing, just like that. And then you got your grass. I'm gonna grab, maybe we'll do this one like a fall tree. So I'm gonna put some orange. Same type concept, right? Okay. So while that is still a little bit wet, we can drop in some of our darker reds if we want to. I'm kind of just letting the color take over. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry for a minute before we do the branches, and that's when we can move over to this tree, as it's pretty much, it has a little bit of wet still, but for the most part it's dry. So I'm coming in with like a darker brown, and I just want to like add some dimension to this trunk, and I just am doing, I grabbed the dark and I put it on the left side because that's the side that I want the shaded parts to be in. And I'm just kind of bringing in a little bit more color to these branches as well. See how that just makes it pop that much more? I'm going to come in with one more darker shade of green just because those all kind of are still pretty light. Okay, so I've mixed my green and I'm just coming in and dropping it really lightly, like where I want my dark shadows to be. And then I'm coming with a clean brush and letting the water kind of soften those colors. Okay, I think that's beautiful. So now that we have that, we're going to move over here and do the same thing for the trunk of the tree. Maybe I'll grab a little bit more brown. There we go. Okay, so now we're gonna do the flat top tree. And I'm gonna show you. You're doing like these half ovals to help give you an idea of the shape you're gonna make. So the top oval and then about like halfway, a little over halfway in. So like here, you're going to do another one. And they get a little smaller. So like halfway on this one, and it kind of leaves you that gradual slope down. So those are kind of your sections in the tree, and then that you can kind of make your greenery around that, right? And then you come in with your trunk, and this is very lopsided, I don't know the right word. It's heavy on one side. As you can see, most of everything is happening on the right side of the tree. So you have your stem, and maybe you have one thick one holding it up, and then one coming out here, and then you have one coming up this way with this tree, or this section. And then there is your flat top tree. So painting that, now that you understand this kind of section, we're going to leave that dark green there. And maybe we'll come in with this. I kind of want to add some, yeah. All right, so again, first layer, that's why I'm saying these are all very similar. You're going to do kind of the same thing, just in these different sections. So let's do our top tree first, and you can just fill it in, leaving some fun like bumps and things on top. And then you're going to come in and do your second section in that same type of, and they're all kind of touching, and that's okay. And then we have our third one. And then you can come in and drop in some color while it's wet. Now I'm coming in with this dark green. I added quite a bit of water to it unintentionally, so I'm gonna darken it up just a little bit more. Doing the same thing with a dry, clean brush. Anywhere that you don't like the lines, you can kind of come in and move them around. But I think I'm going to leave it. Now we bring in the trunk, and I'm going to start here and make the main trunk. So this is kind of the line it's going to go with. Right? And then you can come in and do, let's do one small one there, maybe one coming up from it. And then we have one a little bit thicker coming in this way, and one coming outwards and up into this one. There we go. I like it. I think that looks awesome. So once it dries a little bit more, we can do the same type thing that we did up here, and make that side really just that much more. We can add some shadow here, up in here, but we're gonna let it dry. We have to be patient with watercolor, and we're gonna do the pine tree. So I think there's more trees than just pine trees that are like this. So I'm just gonna show you kind of how I like to approach them. But kind of keeping this cone shape like this. And then we have our little stem or trunk there. And you're starting kind of just like having these small sections kind of pointing outwards. And then as you go down, the sections get bigger, just like this. What's nice about painting pine trees is the brush does this for you. So you don't have to pay too much attention to the shapes when you're sketching it. You could almost just do this triangle, knowing that that's where you want your pine tree. As you can see, my sections are getting bigger. And you can still keep like this a section and then come in, and if you want it to be, there we go. Okay, so there's kind of how you do a tree, a pine tree. So how I like to do this is I'll grab my middle shade green. This is the darker of those, but pine trees are significantly darker than these. So I have my brush and I'm pointing it down like this. And I'm using very little pressure, and I'm just going like this, and I'm making my sections as I go down. I have quite a bit of water on my brush, so I'm going to dab it off real fast. And then as you go, you're making those sections for you. You see how just by kind of pushing your brush, and it's okay to have white space. You see how I'm leaving some? That helps with the layering, or showing that separation of the different layers in the tree. There we go. Okay, so this is when you can come in and grab your darker green and drop it in to where it would be shading. So I kind of like where those separations are, I do it at the top here and towards the middle of the tree too. And then you can let that dry and then just continue on if you wanted to. Just dropping in more color. Using that same type motion. And then you can add in your trunk. And you could even add in some like brown areas in your pine tree. All right, I think we're done for today. If this was helpful to you, I would love to hear how it went. Tell me things that you learned, things that you would like covered more. Just know I'm grateful for you. So again, if you missed the beginning, for the next 2 days, we're doing, anyone that orders a floral watercoloring book gets a free watercolor palette with it. So don't miss out on that. Super fun. If you order it by Thursday, it will get there for Easter. So super fun. Again, I'm so grateful for you. All your likes and comments and just any way you support me I'm grateful. It doesn't go unnoticed. So anyways, have the best day and we will see you next week.